The Village Under Shadows. Chapter 1. Whispers at Dusk. The sun was sinking behind the thick wall of trees that bordered Amuaka, casting long, claw-like shadows across the cracked earth road. The air felt heavier than usual, as if the village itself was holding its breath. Obina sat on a low wooden bench outside his grandmother's hut, a half-carved slingshot in his hands. He should have been finishing it before dark, but his eyes kept drifting to the narrow paths where villagers hurried home. Even the usually loud children playing by the stream were gone, their laughter replaced by the faint squeak of hurried footsteps and the creak of closing doors. From the market square, Mama Igioma was dragging her basket with unusual urgency, the smell of smoked fish trailing in the air. A young man on a bicycle rode past without greeting Obina. Strange, because in Amuaka, even strangers greeted you. Then he heard it, the whispers. Two old men stood just beyond the breadfruit tree, their voices low and urgent. Obina could only catch fragments. Happening again. Last time, you remember the blood. The shadows. The word shadows made Obina's stomach tighten. He leaned slightly forward, pretending to examine his slingshot, but his ears strained. One of the men glanced toward him, and the conversation stopped abruptly. Without a word, they shuffled off, their walking sticks tapping quickly against the dusty ground. The wind picked up, carrying with it the smell of damp earth, and something else, faint but sharp, like burning leaves deep in the forest. That was when Obina noticed it, the path. Between two massive Irako trees, just beyond the last hut, lay a trail he had never really paid attention to. The grass was flattened, as if recently walked on, yet the air above it shimmered faintly in the dying light. No one else was looking at it. No one else seemed to see it. His grandmother's voice snapped him out of his trance. "Obina," she called sharply from inside. "Come in. It is almost dark." He hesitated, eyes fixed on that path. A chill ran through him, though the evening was still warm. He could swear he saw the outline of a tall, unmoving figure at the far end, swallowed in the shadows between the trees. But when he blinked, it was gone. The sound of a door slamming somewhere down the road jolted him. One by one, the huts were shutting themselves against the night, wooden bolts sliding into place. Even the crickets had gone silent. As Obina stepped inside his grandmother's hut, she was already fastening the heavy iron latch. "Don't stand outside at this time," she muttered, not meeting his eyes. "You never know what walks when the sun goes down." She moved to the small cooking fire, but Obina barely noticed. His mind was still outside, on that unlit path, and on the strange feeling that the figure he thought he saw was still watching him from somewhere in the dark. Chapter 2. The Forbidden Path. The morning after the strange whispers, the village looked ordinary again. Women pounding yam in wooden mortars, roosters strutting proudly between huts, and the rhythmic clang of a blacksmith's hammer ringing from afar. But for Obina, nothing felt ordinary. He could still see that faintly shimmering trail between the Irako trees, and the shape he thought he'd glimpsed at dusk. It pulled at him like a fishing line in the dark. By midday, curiosity had eaten away at his hesitation. Ngozi, his childhood friend, was selling oranges near the stream when she saw him walking in that direction. "Where are you going?" she called. "Nowhere," Obina replied too quickly. She frowned. "Obina, you're going toward the forest. Your grandmother will beat you with that broom she keeps for stubborn goats." He only grinned and waved her off. "I'll be back before the evening bell." The path looked different in daylight, less menacing, more like a forgotten foot trail. But as soon as Obina stepped past the first Irako, the air changed. It was cooler here, almost damp, and the usual hum of insects was gone. That was when he saw them. Carvings. Strange, spiraling patterns etched into the bark of several trees. Some looked like eyes, others like curling snakes, their edges darkened as if burned into the wood. When Obina ran his fingers over one, it felt warm, almost alive. A whisper slid through the air behind him. He spun around. Nothing. The path was empty, though the light seemed to dim slightly, as if clouds had rolled in, but the sky above was clear. "Is someone there?" he called, his voice steadier than he felt. No answer, only that faint smell again, like burning leaves. He walked deeper, the ground soft with layers of fallen leaves. Somewhere ahead, water dripped steadily, though he couldn't see its source. Then, just beyond a clump of thick bushes, he saw something else. A flat stone half buried in the earth, carved with the same symbols as the trees. A sudden rustle came from behind him. He turned sharply and froze. Standing at the edge of the trail was his grandmother. Her wrapper was tied hastily, and her breathing was fast, as though she had run. Her eyes were wide, almost fearful. "What are you doing here, Obinna?" she demanded, her voice low and urgent. "I just wanted to—" She cut him off sharply. "This is where the shadows come from. You must never set foot here again." She took his wrist with surprising strength and pulled him back toward the village. Obinna glanced over his shoulder one last time. Between the trees, just where he'd been standing moments before, the shadows seemed to shift unnaturally, as if something unseen was watching them leave.